There's my mic. Not you guys. You guys are seen now, and do 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 do. Now you are heard. Yay! Woo!
Yay!
I assume that. I assume that you're heard now. I can never actually check. But hello, everybody. Let me pin myself for this intro real quick, and welcome to tonight's episode of Too Funny Feedback. My name is Tom, and co-hosting this show with me tonight is special guest Roz.
Hi.
That's
Hi.
her saying hi. Tonight, each of our comedians will be performing a 5-minute set. After your set, Roz and I will give you about 5 minutes of feedback before moving on to the next comedian. While we invite discussion during your allotted time, we do not have like a lot of time on this show because luckily we're consistently booked. So if we don't have time to address your concerns, just follow up with us on Facebook or email or however. We're happy to talk in more depth about it. But to our audience, keep in mind as we get started that our intention is to help facilitate the growth of the comedians who come to us with varying levels of experience. Also, comedy subjective, so you may not agree with us. That's okay. We're also learning how to give good feedback. Roz's first show, so yeah. And additionally, if you enjoy the show and want to support the stream, please consider making a donation while watching at district-comedy.live or liking, sharing, subscribing to the District Comedy platforms. That also helps, and the link to all of that can be found in the description. Also, mark your calendars. This is a special plug for 8:30 p.m. Eastern, March 19th. We are bringing Stand Up for a Cause back, this time for AIDS Committee of Toronto, ACT. I'm really excited to be supporting such a great cause and to feature, we're going to have an all-Canadian open mic, and it's going to be a blast. And, yep, they're all people who've been on district comedy shows at some point. But yeah, that's it. Now we're going to get started. Here we go, and gallery view. Okay. So yeah, this is also a very fun part of the show that I should plan ahead of time, but that's deciding who's gonna go first. So if there's any volunteers.
Oh, Sean's
Oh, okay, sorry. Awesome. Yay.
jumping on the
All right.
grenade.
What was that? Jumping on the grenade?
Jumping on the grenade.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So, oh yeah, also, the extra box that says District Comedy in the gallery view is going to be your handy dandy 5-minute timer. So feel free to check that out to see how you're doing on time. And yeah, please give it up for the awesome, the hilarious Sean Powers. Woo, 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 woo.
Thank you. I grew up the youngest in my family, which means I always had to fight for attention. The oldest was always the best in both sports and academics. The middle was cool, the rebel, did drugs. So there wasn't much left for me to do except become the best at harder drugs. I've actually been sober for 234 days today.
Woo!
But I have little brother energy. So when I tell you about myself, you're proud, but it's rooted in pity. Kind of like people who tell you about their sobriety publicly. Now, I earned this privileged pity party. Let me bask in it. Because pity points are still points. Kind of like being a charity case helps you save money on your taxes. Or to any future Mrs. Powers out there who want to marry me just to feel empowered. Now, I grew up under the shadow of my siblings, which means teachers would always say things like, your sister was so much better at math. Come on, Powers, your brother's so much more athletic. Sean, no matter how much you write on the walls, you'll never be as creative as your siblings. Hey, Sean, what time's your sister off? Why don't you give me her number? Let me know what she's doing after class. Now, if I couldn't be the athlete or I couldn't be the scholar and I couldn't express my angst through art, what other avenue is there aside from harder drugs? One benefit of little brother energy is that I've become like I can go into a room and seek out anyone who might just take me under their wing. And it's a win-win because they get to give the advice, or they get to feel accomplished, and I get the advice. But it does come with a little bit of condescension. Like, I appreciate you telling me I did a good job and that I'm a good boy. But can you stop patting me on the head, talking to me like I'm... No, I don't want to sit down, but I will. Now, people always ask me with my last name, what are your powers? As a straight white male, my power is to ruin everything I touch. And to make everyone a little bit sad that I'm around. Now, it comes with a lot of condescension. I don't get a lot of, wow, great jobs. I get more, aw, you did it. You accomplished something. I don't have the type of energy that like makes him proud. I have more make a wish. Hey, I told you I was going to make you sad. Now, my naive demeanor can come in handy at some points. But, you know, like I said, it comes with the cost of being condescended to. I'll walk into a situation, I'll ask for help, and I'll be like, come on, don't you want to help me? Don't you need like an unpaid intern? An apprentice? You know, a charitable donation of your time does qualify as a 501c3 tax write-off. Make my wish come true. Now, during the day, I'm an elementary school teacher, and at night, I like to do stand-up comedy like this. So I've become accustomed to feeling emasculated all day and humiliated all night. Now, I will be honest, I did become a first grade teacher, not because I love kids, but so I could finally be the tallest in the room. Ha! Now, my classroom is a great place because it's just an echo chamber of positivity and support. And I'm lucky to have a mentor teacher who taught me the key to this. He said it's all in the delusion. Now, I'm an enthusiastic person, and a lot of people hate on enthusiasm. But the world would be a terrible place without people like me. It's people like me who are single-handedly funding the Nigerian princes of the world. But people hate on enthusiasm. I asked my friend, like, why do people hate when I'm so happy? And she's like, well, if you were a dog, we'd love you. I appreciate that. But can you please stop patting me on the head and calling me a good boy? I don't want to sit down, but I will take the treats. And that's all I have. Thank you so much.
Woo! Woo, woo, woo! Give it up for Sean, everybody. Woo, woo! And just gonna reset my timer real quick for the next person. All right. No, don't start playing, even though I didn't ask you to. Okay. Okay, so I'm just gonna jump into it, and then you'll go after that, Roz, although you have your hand up.
Oh no, it's my face. Just
no, sorry. It was actually my mouse cursor over the Zoom window.
Oh, okay. I thought
that's a solid start. Let's get to the notes.
Yeah.
Sorry for that. I thought that it was a good choice for an opener just because you really get the audience to kind of like know a little bit about you right away, kind of let them know that you are like the baby of the family, and a nice little twist with like the, oh, and do harder drugs. I thought that was fun. I thought little bro energy was fun, and that was an area where I don't know if this was intentional, and you can tell me. I didn't think it was good or bad. I thought it was just interesting, but it was like, because of that joke, and then the joke about being like a dog towards the end of it, where it was like the recurring phrase of patting on the head came back to me. I'm gonna assume it was on purpose. But yeah, I thought it was interesting to do. And that might be really fun to play with, because you do like a couple of other instances of like setting up for a rule of threes in your act. So I wonder if like there could be like an extended version of that with the callback to that phrase. But next on the list was the star joke for your set for me was definitely the cis white male one. I thought that was really strong, very like self-aware, and then you went into the unpaid unpaid intern apprentice and then the 501k joke, which I thought was really nice, and I even wonder if it would be worth considering, like if you wanted to try and like tighten up your set for room for new jokes. If maybe the 501k reference in like in I think it was like in exchange for time. If that could go with the bit where the wife is your charity case by being with you. Just if you wanted more room. It was fine the way it was now too.
The empowered one?
Sorry?
You think that one would pair well with the empowered one?
The unpaid intern joke where like it's a charity case that you can write off on your taxes because you're, I guess, giving them your time, would also go well with the 501k joke for the future wife who is like you're a charity case by being with you.
Yeah.
It's like, also I noticed a theme of self-deprecating humor, which is hard to give notes on because then I feel like I'm insulting you again.
I know how to set myself up.
Okay, good. I also thought it was a strong move, and if you wanted to like start thinking about where to go like beyond the like first 5 minutes, I know that we do 5-minute sets here, and you may have stuff on this already, but like thinking about working on like the 10-minute set and more, going more into your job as a first grade teacher, I think would be a strong area. And that was also a good joke with the what would be taller than them. Overall, I thought it was a really strong set. The Nigerian princes as kind of like a throwaway almost, I thought was fun because we've all had that. I was gonna say guy, but it's a bot. And yeah, overall, good job. Roz, take it away.
Yeah, so I thought it was awesome. I kind of loved the self-deprecating aspect of it. I'm a big sucker for that kind of humor. One thing that I noticed straight off, I think this is something I struggle with. Like when I get nervous, I want to just like kind of rush into things. I think when you're doing your intro, kind of slow it down a little bit if you can. The fact that you're starting off with a joke about fighting for attention when at the beginning of your set, I think gives you an opportunity to really play up the whole I'm desperate for attention kind of thing. So you could, like yell, tap on the mic, be like, is this thing on? Like, come on, guys, eyes forward. My eyes are right here. Come on, look at the, that kind of thing. Like, there's some room for you to play with that a little bit. Because I am the younger sibling and I know that we know how to be annoying. So I think like that's a very good way to kind of establish who you are and play into the joke at the same time. I liked how you turned things around on the audience a little bit when you talked about your sobriety, because that's the kind of thing, like you're probably going to get applause for from the audience. And then I appreciate that like tiny bit of crowd work you did to kind of turn around and be like, yeah, you guys are applauding for me, but you shouldn't be kind of deal. Yeah, also, I just have another note to slow down a little bit. Pacing is something I super struggle with too, because when I get nervous, I start to talk really fast. But sometimes I felt like I was almost missing a punchline, or I had to catch up on a punchline, because you need to kind of slow things down and pause and like wait for the audience to get it, because like we want to hear your jokes, like we want to catch those. That's why we're all here to like see you perform, So make sure that the audience is able to do that. Also, one concept that I thought was really cool that you could expand on if you wanted to. You talked about how like you kind of like enter a room and you're looking for someone to take you under their wing. That idea is really funny to me, and I think you could like, if you wanted to expand that concept, you could write about like things like what you do to like find your mark, or how you know the person is going to be empathetic enough to put up with you. And there's me like sounding like I'm being a critical jerk, like, but yeah, I feel like you could maybe expand on that if you wanted to. The other thing I noticed was there were times when you could like change your voice. Like you don't necessarily need to like, I don't know, like adopt a British accent or something, but like sometimes like I don't know.
The only way. That's the only thing
I mean,
stopping
you
me from
can.
success. British accent.
Not
Yes.
being British.
Yes.
It's your art, like whatever. But no, I mean like for example, when you made the joke empowered, I was kind of laughing like late because I realized that your last name is Powers and you're kind of doing a pun on that.
Oh.
And I think like you could have been like, yeah, because they want to be empowered, you know, like just emphasize the pun a little bit. And you'll definitely get a reaction from the audience. You know, depending on their feelings on puns, either positive or negative.
At TBJ, it would be positive.
Yeah. I mean, I thought, I would think it was funny. But also too, and this is something I actually struggle with one of my sets, is when you're kind of using the rule of threes, like this person says this about me and this person says this. I know I struggle with this too, where you're sort of playing three different characters in a row when you say, this teacher says this to me, this other teacher says this to me, and this other teacher says this to me. And so you kind of want to figure out a way to deliver those lines, because not only are they punchlines, but they're also, you kind of have to think of like ways to express that this is a different person, I think. So maybe modify your delivery a little bit to emphasize that, so we're not just hearing it in your voice. But overall, I really liked how you kind of brought things back around, and I felt like it was a really cohesive set, like talking about, you know, being kind of the underdog, the little brother people want to root for. Like I felt like that theme was kind of enmeshed in the whole set, but you weren't just telling one story, which I think is a very hard thing to do, and I think that's definitely one of your strengths. So overall, great job.
Woo!
Thank you so much for the feedback.
Yeah,
Yeah.
of course. Keep giving it up for Sean Powers, everybody. Yeah, we give claps twice on this show. Man, I can't say claps anymore ever since the young people started saying clap in cheeks. That's all I think about now. Anyway, moving on.
Oh, you're in your fucking 20s. Calm down.
Oh God. But barely. Roz actually did bring up a good thing for everybody though, that I want to remind you of, as far as like pacing. It's good to remember also with these that I've noticed is that a Zoom 5 is probably going to be more like an in real life 7 when you get out there. So just remember that, because people are just gonna be laughing so hard it'll take up all your time, and you don't want to be like, can you stop fucking laughing? I need to move on with my jokes. That being said, let's see who we got next up on our list. Oh, I know who's gonna go next. She's incredible. She's amazing. She has a really cool, trippy background brick wall. Give it up for Desiree Walsh. Woo, 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 woo.
Woo! Yeah, I switched it up from last week.
Woo!
Okay, there, I needed to see the timer. Hello.
Hi.
Most of you know this, but I have to say it every couple of minutes or I will die. I'm Canadian. Yeah, there's still no joke there. It's still more of a humble brag at this point, but I am still rooting for you, America. So much. So much, America. I am rooting for you. I am also disabled. You just can't see the wheelchair because of Zoom, but I do use one. Not because I'm eccentric, but because I'm really disabled. Yeah. I'm also a twin because I'm an attention whore.
Oh.
Yeah. That's the theme tonight, birth order. And my sister is also disabled because God has a sense of humor. And when we were little, we used to play wheelchair basketball because we couldn't run. So yeah. And my sister was a forward. That was her position, and I played a little bit of a different position. I played left bench. Yeah. Sometimes I'd switch it up and play right bench, but pretty much always on the bench. Yeah. And sometimes adults, not children, people are always like, oh, like children are so mean to people who are different. No, adults are mean. The top meanest things ever said to me, women over 35, I was 10. So adults would say, how come when you're number 43, you can hit the hoop and you kind of know what's going on and like you seem really with it. And when you're 13, you can't hit the hoop and like you don't really know what's going on. And I would sigh and say, 43 is a different person. And they would say, are you sure? Which is my favorite thing as a twin is when people question if you know who you are. Like, you have made the mistake. And I said yes. And then I said, did you not wonder why I insisted on being called a different name at halftime? And they said, yes, but we thought you were one of those eccentric children. So we just let it go. Yeah. Over the holidays, I went to see my parents, and it was pretty good. There was just one point where we were sitting down to dinner, and my dad said, what's the deal with these defund the police people? And I said, well, Dad. And then my mom appeared like a Batman villain from the shadows and said, do not do this with her, Alan. You will not win. And then we sat down to dinner, and my mom said, unprovoked, what's pansexualism? This is why you shouldn't let your parents watch Schitt's Creek. Anne Levy is both the son and daughter my mom never had and always wanted. Yeah. But we did explain it to her. And then my dad said, unprovoked, there are too many genders these days. Where do they all come from? And I said, well, Dad. And my mom said, shut up, I want to have a nice dinner. My parents are great. My dad recently saw me do stand-up comedy over Zoom, and his review of the show was, if this is the internet, I do not care for it. His go-to line also, like if I ever ask him for money, is when I was your age, 37, I had 2 kids and they were both sick. And it's just like, shut up. Like, no one's impressed by you. You had a set of twins with disabilities. Shut your face. Thank you. I've been Desiree Walsh.
Woo, 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 woo! Give it up for Desiree, everybody! Stopping this timer. Yeah. Okay, cool. Awesome. So the way you start off with the being Canadian as a humble brag is still killing it for me. I really like the twin as an attention whore, and for some reason I feel like when I watch you, the like twin material doesn't make it in as often, and I don't know why, because I really enjoy it. But
people usually think it's sad. That's why. So sometimes it takes the air out of things. So sometimes I just don't do it.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I don't know why people think it's sad. I thought it was funny.
Okay.
But Let me see. Um, I thought that, so the section where you're talking about the women over 35 saying the meanest things, and it being about because of the different numbers on your jersey, I think I missed. So it's either a speed thing or it was omitted thing.
Okay.
But if there's a way, just to clarify, at the top of it, because you mention it later, but that it's like, why is it when the number on your jersey is 13, blah, 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 but when it's 37, blah, blah, blah? Because I
Yeah.
just heard, why is it when you're number 13 and number 37? So it like took me a second to realize, oh, okay, because of the numbers on the jersey sort of thing,
Okay.
until you like mentioned it later. Or it was because I just missed it in that case. Slow down a little
No,
bit.
sometimes I wonder. So that works.
Luckily, it's recorded on the stream, so we'll go back and check the tapes. But I thought that the questioning of "Do you even know who you are?" was really fun and weird. It felt like that was like a premise for an episode of Black Mirror almost.
Yeah.
So that might be like a fun genre to play into if you want to expand on that. And what I liked about this and what I haven't heard from your set before is that you like tied it up with like, oh, we just thought you were doing that because you're one of those eccentric people. And I thought that that tied nicely with one of your like opening bits about uh, I am actually in a wheelchair, not just being an eccentric woman making a point. Um, but yeah, so that was a nice little tie-in that I hadn't heard before. Um, and also, I as want to especially highlight this because Roz just said the thing about like doing voices and like character stuff. It really doesn't have to be anything big. I feel like your character as your mom is you but yelling, which I feel like if that doesn't summarize parenting in a nutshell, I don't know what does. But yeah, overall good. I like the changes you've been making. Just clarifying that Jersey joke was the only thing that I kind of missed. So 10 out of 10. Take it away, Roz.
Okay. Desiree, your delivery is really smooth. Like that's one of the things I always love about like your sets is that it's like I had a really hard time focusing on critiquing you because I just wanted to like let your voice wash over me like the summer rain. Um, but one thing that you did, I liked at the beginning, you kind of gave a callback to Sean's set. I think it's always like a nice way to kind of like subtly bond with the audience because it's kind of weird to like go on stage and just not acknowledge the fact that we all just watched somebody else do a set together. And so I feel like it kind of makes the show more cohesive when you do a callback to another joke. But also it's kind of a good skill to have that improv ability. So if you have to deal with a heckler or you have to, do crowd work, I think it's a good way to practice that kind of. You also do this cool thing, and I don't know if it's on purpose, but like, or if you just catch yourself when you when you like need a second to regroup, but you do this thing where like you'll repeat a concept. So you'll be like, so the worst people to me were always adults, and adults should know better, and adults should, and like you kind of like repeated the term adults like 3 times, but like modified it each time, like it said something different. And to me, like that, I don't know, for me, that made it really easy to follow what you were joking about. And it kind of like, I don't know if that's conscious or not when you do it, but it kind of like it helped give a flow to the set that I think was really cool. I also starred 2 of my comments because Tom already made them, but I will I will regurgitate Tom's thoughts. I really liked the "Do you know who you are?" joke. Like, and I definitely think you have room to play with that. Like, you could be like, you know, not knowing that, like, as a kid, you could be like, "Do any of us know who we are, man?" Like, or just like expand on that somehow. Like, that's a really good philosophical question that like this random Karen brought up to you, you know. I also noticed the repeat of like, I'm not in a wheelchair because I'm eccentric. Like, I thought that was really good because it kind of tied the concepts together. You also used the image of your mom appearing from the shadows like a Batman villain. And I loved that because I just got like this cool mental image of like an older woman with like a bowl of mashed potatoes like coming out of the shadows like Nosferatu. And it was like a really good image to kind of set that scene for us. So I thought that was really effective. One thing I would say, just like when you're quoting your parents, maybe pause a little bit before you quote them, just to let everybody know like something's changing, or like, you know, pay attention because this is going to be good kind of thing. But overall, I always love seeing you perform, and that was awesome. So thanks.
Hell yeah! Second applause for Desiree. Woo 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 woo! Awesome, awesome. Next up on the list, I'm also really excited, by the way, because we have so many new faces in the room tonight. Next up is his first time on the show. Please give it up for David Gordon. Woo 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 woo!
Hi, hello everybody. Tom, Ros, thanks for doing this.
Yeah.
I think that if you have a receding hairline, you should get a discount at the barber shop. If you hired someone to mow your lawn, they'll charge you based on how much lawn there is. Why should barbershops be any different? My haircuts should be 30% off. And I need that discount too. I got laid off last year. This pandemic was a bit untimely. I realized that getting laid off and getting laid, it sounds similar, but the way they feel, complete opposites. Now, before I get a new job, I need to do some soul searching. I need to think hard about my values and my purpose and the things that I find meaningful in life. And so far, I've been doing most of this soul searching, getting high on my couch. I need to get off my ass, though. I'm crashing at a friend's place, and my income from telling jokes barely covers rent, which is free. I hate looking for work. I want to be a philanthropist, but I don't have any money. A philanthropist is the only job where you need money first. The application says, how much money do you have? None. That's why I need the job. It says, how liquid are your assets? Well, in my car, I have some Pepsi. That's not working out. Maybe I could be a condom tester. Now that's a dream job. There's got to be R&D for your D. But wouldn't that be a cool gig? You report back to your boss. Well, this one glows in the dark. Well, this one broke. And this one I forgot to put on. Those are the ones I always bought. Still looking for a job. I want to have kids so I can hand them an iPad and then pretend that I don't have kids. I'm not sure if I'd be a good parent. I got caught lying to a kid. I was leaving the grocery store and I made eye contact with a Girl Scout selling cookies. She said I could get 5 boxes for $20. I told her I didn't have $20, but I'll buy 1 box because of the eye contact. And so I reached in my wallet and all I had were 20s. So I said, how about I get 5 boxes like you mentioned, and we'll pretend this never happened. I started doing yoga recently, and even more recently, I quit. Do vegans breastfeed? I don't know. Seems hypocritical. I fully support anyone's choice how they identify their gender. It doesn't matter to me. Here's my beef. The first time someone asked me my pronouns, I didn't know what a pronoun was. I was confused, like that person in New York City who had a kitchen fire right after the planes hit the World Trade Center. My apartment's filling with smoke. What do you mean all the firefighters are busy? I did some research because my younger cousin is gender fluid, and I don't want to be a dick. Leah uses the pronouns they, them. And Leah was over recently, and we were in the backyard throwing the football around. And let me tell you, they throw like a girl. Football is not for them. All right, thank you very much.
Woo! Woo! Giving it up for David Gordon. First time on the mic. Thank you very much for sharing your little jokies with us. Why is this always like when I rewind it, it starts going anyways? Timer is defying me. Anyway, start off strong. I like the haircut discount joke. I thought that was a very clever one. I haven't heard it before. And in general, I felt like your delivery for the entire set lends itself very well to like one-liners, kind of in the style of Anthony Jeselnik, who I'm assuming he's pretty popular. If you haven't seen him, check him out. He's really gonna be something someday. He's getting a he's a good kid. Anyway, so yeah, so kind of in that theme, I thought that you kind of had that sort of pacing and delivery, which I feel like is a strength. So if you wanted to do a set that was closer to just doing a series of one-liners, and this had moments where it was kind of like that, I would probably say that you can probably get away with it more than other people can. Just because it has a very distinct style that you need to get away with that. But anyway, oh, I like the one about getting fired, the getting laid off versus getting laid. And if you want, I think there's room for a tag on top of that where it's like, with one, you're feeling sad and depressed or whatever, and then the other one, you're getting fired, and like maybe play with it that way. Misdirection. That's alluding to your pronoun jokes. Joke. Comedy not. Oh, I also liked the online comedy not paying for free rent. Condom tester. I thought that was a fun premise, and that one was the only one where I thought that to throw out a really ridiculous premise like that, I kind of want you to mine it a little more. And like, because just being a condom tester, there's gonna be so many funny things about that, that like it behooves you to get as much mileage out of it as you can. And then, but also probably maybe not the other extreme of that. Like, don't do a whole 30-minute special about being a condom tester. Like, everything in moderation. Another star for lend them an iPad so I don't have to parent them, or whatever the actual joke was. And then the whole Girl Scout cookie joke I thought was very strong. Kind of going into the pronoun jokes a little bit. just like being aware whenever we kind of like touch on those more sensitive topics, which they are for some people, like being aware, like what is your brand, what is the joke that you're going for, and have I made it clear enough how I actually feel about the topic, in case I haven't like established enough of rapport with the audience already. Um, just so it's clear.
Yeah.
And then I was gonna say something about the 9/11 joke, but I didn't think it was that bad. And I know that like that's one of the things that people can be more sensitive to, so it's kind of a direct contradiction to my last comment, but I also feel like it was a little bit of an unnecessary risk. So keep it if you really like it, but I think that if there's another direction you can go just for not losing potential like audience members unnecessarily.
Yeah.
If you're feeling really edgy, go for it. But if you want to err on the side of caution, maybe I think that could have been replaced with something else pretty easily. I forget. Did I mention I really liked the I think I might be jumping around a bit. The doing yoga joke as well. And that one I think might be one where consider putting it earlier in the set and maybe connecting it to where you're talking about like how you've lost your job, because I feel like that was another big thing that happened during the pandemic, was like a lot of people took it as an opportunity to like, I'm gonna work on myself and I'm gonna work out, and like I started off that way for like a month, and now I do a comedy show from my closet and I eat Oreos and McDonald's all the time. So that's how that's going. Yeah. Anyway, that's it from me. Go ahead, Rozzle. Rozzle Dazzle.
Okay. So one thing that I like immediately wrote down, you have this really cool stage presence. Like, okay, I'm gonna throw these jokes out there and they might not hit, but whatever. Like, that's cool. I'll just move on to the next one. As a person who's insane and starts talking really fast and stuff when I get nervous, I really appreciate that like you have this like relaxed delivery that's very comfortable to watch. Um, I also like Tom talked about one-liners versus like longer expanded jokes. I definitely feel like you could piece together a set of one-liners. Like I feel like there are some comics that can't get away with that, but I feel like you can, because most of your one-liners were very strong. But I felt like they also had potential for being expanded into a longer kind of riff. One thing like for the receding hairline, you talk about, if I have more lawn, you're not charging me extra to mow it. If you could expand on that and be like, if I get fatter and I need to buy bigger pants, I'm not paying more money for them. Like, you can add more examples and just get slightly more ridiculous and kind of mine that premise a little bit more. Because I think it's a really funny thing to explore. The laid off versus laid premise I thought was good, but it felt to me like you maybe abandoned it a little too quickly. Because when you brought it up first, like I was like, okay, yeah, that's pretty funny. Like laid off versus laid, either way, you're completely fucked. Like, but then you kind of like, switch to another topic real fast. I was like, wait, I wanted to see what he was going to say about that. So. I felt like that's a really good place where you could expand on your joke. I also highlighted the condom tester thing. I thought that was very funny too. And definitely, if you decided you wanted to expand that line of jokes, you definitely have some good wiggle room there too. You could also make like a joke like, I have more dick and I don't have to pay more for condoms that I'm testing, or something like that. Like, a callback. You could do a callback to like the receding hairline joke. Like, someone with a small dick's gonna pay the same amount for a condom, And I felt like I liked the Girl Scout anecdote too. I did that with a band once when I was trying to bargain them down on their merch, and then I had to pull out a 20. But anyway, I think it would be kind of funny if you like expanded the Girl Scouts character, because I have this mental image of her being like, "Please, mister, send my troop to the camp out," and like you being like trying to like get the cookies, but like get out of giving her money. Like I think that's a really funny kind of dynamic that you could play up if you wanted to. I am a terrible person, but I thought the 9/11 joke was funny. But I can also see losing an audience. So I think that's definitely one where you got to read the room pretty carefully, because not everyone is a bad person like I am. So, so definitely be careful of that. I thought the they them joke was also really good. I would say, I think like, and my partner owns a venue and has trans employees. So I know I talk about this all the time. Sorry.
Yeah, Ros is on my other show, and it is a running thing where she always mentions her partner's bar.
No, but like I say this because I have a point.
No,
like,
no,
you know,
it's
he's got trans employees there, so like our big rule for comedy is like if trans people are the butt of your joke, you're gonna get told to leave like as soon as you get off the stage. So I think like, and I think as a person who's not trans, I think there is a way to joke about pronouns, and I think you did it very well. My suggestion would be swapping the order of those jokes, and talking about your cousin first and starting it with, you know, it was your cousin, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, my cousin recently came out to me as trans, and I'm not trying to be an asshole, but the hardest part for me has been I don't know what the fuck a pronoun is. You know, like I think reversing that, because like specifying I have a family member who's trans and I care about them. I'm not trying to be an asshole. I think it helps people who are worried that you're about to go into offensive territory relax a little bit and appreciate the jokes. Because I think you did a really good job of like kind of dealing with a unfortunately controversial subject there without being offensive. But like, you know, because I bartend those nights and we're always just like, if we hear someone start to stray, I'm like, I'm not gonna let one of the employees, you know. So like it kind of like raises people's alarms and doesn't help them kind of relax and focus on your humor. So, but I think you did a really good job with that, and I think that's a hard thing to do.
Right.
So, overall, I thought it was great. And I definitely love your delivery. Like, I wish I could have that like slow, easygoing.
I wish I could at least portray confidence.
Yeah. So overall, I thought it was a great effort and has a lot of potential. So good on you.
Yay!
Great feedback. Thank you.
Yay!
Yeah.
Awesome. Keep it going for David Gordon, and I'm also gonna, before we completely move on, just because it's in the news, so this is like a time-sensitive connection you can make to your pronouns joke. Just maybe something on the whole dumb like gender-neutral Mr. Mrs. Potato Head thing that's going on right now. Might be something there. Either way, next up on our list, he's funny. He's been on this show before. We really enjoy him. Give it up for John O'Keefe. Woo, 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 woo.
Hello, everybody. How are you doing?
Woo, woo, woo.
Oh, love that energy. So listen, a lot of people must have attractive cousins, right? Because there's a lot of attractive people. So I think it follows. There might be advantages to marrying your cousin. People will be supportive if you decide to adopt. And if you end up having an affair, at least you're not sleeping with your cousin. A victory of sorts. Incidentally, have you ever heard like actors or celebrities make the same emotional speech about how their craft saved their life? Like, you can't all have been crackhead babies, fucking smoking the pipe and slapping your family, making gang signs in your parents' Range Rover. You know, then you found a Meisner school that changed how you looked at the world. I mean, come on. Now you live in Beverly Hills with like this rented yacht and, you know, friendships. Glad acting saved your life, but it also made you pretentious. You could have been a loser with a drug problem. Now you're just an asshole with one. So that's a victory of sorts too. Okay, this is kind of weird, but COVID is weird. I saw someone trying to organize a gig in a graveyard. I thought, like, where were you advertising? The retirement home? A hospice? I mean, at least you could space people out according to the headstones. You know, you'd be like, all right, everyone, you need to be 6 feet apart or 6 feet under, nothing in between. That would be weird. If someone in the crowd is really ill, you can just clank them with a shovel, save everyone a bit of time. At least the graveyard's COVID compliant, you know. It's outdoors, spacious, not popular with the young. If you get into a hole, you can actually dig yourself out. Killing at a graveyard seems right, but a comedian's terrible jokes also seem appropriate, surrounded by death. But look, I'm optimistic. My brother's getting married soon, and I don't want to go because it's in France and we have to do tests and all that kind of stuff. And I've just been fantasizing about fun ways to ruin any wedding, you know? I've thought of a few. So here's one way you could ruin a wedding. Just go up to a groom and just whisper, "You'll find out soon enough." Or go up to the bride and just whisper, "Everyone's noticed." Or you can bring a megaphone into the reception and literally talk about people behind their backs. Or you can loudly laugh every time someone says, "The bride looks beautiful." Or grab the microphone and make a random tangent about why we need to lower the age of consent.
Oh,
I know, right? Or if someone asks you to dance, just be like, "Sorry, I don't dance," but then immediately go dancing. I thought about this a lot. Or during the ceremony, you could watch a telenovela on your phone because it's more interesting than this shit. Okay. Now, here's a delicious bit about time zones. What is mountain time? I don't get it, right? I mean, I get it, but like, who gives themselves a badass name like that? We'd all like to be called something cool. I live in Greenwich Mean Time. I'm already depressed saying it. I mean, Greenwich Mean Time is sometimes known as UTC, which sounds like an infection, which based on my time in the UK, it makes sense. UTC sounds like it needs cranberry juice, hugs, then forgiveness. UTC is known as Coordinated Universal Time. That's a dyslexic time zone. So GMT, UTC, awful. Everyone in it, awful. Even Daniel Day-Lewis, don't let him get away with it because he's magnificent. Doesn't he seem like a mountain time person? Come on, Daniel, go cobble your shoes by the mountains like a real man. Because mountain time to me sounds like a place of doing, a place of intent, a place to hide bodies and get away with murder. I think it's got it all. And I assume plenty of outdoorsy activities. I mean, I'm basing this on this recurring dream I've been having about mountains and broken backs. First time I heard it, I remember someone said, "Hey, let's meet at 5 mountain time." And I was like, mountain time? Is that when everyone meets up to bang? Have you invited me to an early evening orgy? Film porn there. I have more questions quickly. Are there valley girls in mountain time? How did I decide on that name, mountain time? Was the guy responsible for naming it into cowboy stories? Or had his heart broken by a cowboy? Or did he bury a cowboy in a mountain? I don't know. That's all I've thought about. Anyway, that's my time. Thanks for listening to me. My name is John O'Keefe.
woo, 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 woo! Give it up for John O'Keefe, everybody! Woo! Awesome. Fun time. Always a fun time, John. Anyway, okay, so marrying your cousin. I thought that overall, like, that bit was fairly strong. I laughed.
Maybe that opening.
What's that? Yeah, really, really hot opening with your cousin. But you did mention, like, at the top of it, like, I imagine, like, people have hot cousins because I see hot people in the world and, like, we're all basically somebody's cousin sort of thing. But I don't know if you have to, like, preface it with the cousins being hot. Like, only mention it if, like, that's going to be like a huge, like, it's necessary to the joke, basically. But, like,
For sure.
if I think that there's definitely stuff to mine if you want to emphasize how the cousin is hot. Like, people are rooting for you because your cousin's hot. Now all of a sudden they're okay with it or something. But then I really liked the whole acting Meisner bit. I only had 2 notes for it, which was maybe there's a way, and maybe it's like either doing it before or after, but maybe that's where you put the Daniel Day-Lewis stuff.
Right,
Just
okay.
because I like to put acting stuff together. And then you had 2 steps that I noticed in the overall bit where you mention Meisner, but I think maybe like say Meisner for one of them, like the first or the second, and then you can plug in another acting method like Stanislavski or another one in there, just because it really works with any acting method, and if you can like use one of the other ones just to vary it up, I think it's helpful.
Sure.
But overall, I really like that bit. Now you're now you're not a loser with a drug problem. You're an asshole. But star for the night for the entire like gig in a graveyard section. I fucking loved that. Oh my god. And there were so many layers to it, and you found a lot of them. I thought it was like well dug as far as like mining givens. I thought that yeah, you could even go for more in there if you wanted. And my nerdy tag, which I realize may not be one you use, and that's totally fine because it's probably nerdy and specific to me. But when you said 6 feet apart and 6 feet under, my brain immediately was trying to remember Pythagorean theorem and how to calculate if the third line, whatever that one is, would also be 6 feet.
Yeah.
Maybe don't need that. Okay.
Actually, Sean actually gave me that tag, so I got to give Sean Powers a shout out to out there.
Oh, great.
Hey, could we switch the attention back to me?
Absolutely. But yeah, wait, is that true?
No, yeah, 100%, yeah.
Oh, no, cool. I didn't realize you guys knew each other. But oh yeah, and then the last thing I wanted to acknowledge was the wedding bit. You mentioned the wedding was in France. I don't know if you need to give us that detail unless you're gonna like make.
I actually wrote just a fuckload of jokes about like fun ways to destroy a wedding, and then I was like, my brother's getting married. Maybe I could just tie it in, but it just felt a bit like rushed to just go. Here's fun ways to ruin a wedding, and just go into a list of it. Like
no, I mean you can tie in your brother's wedding. I thought that was fine, but like you don't mention France unless you're gonna make a joke about France.
True, yeah, that makes sense, yeah.
That was the only bit. I think you can talk about it being your brother's wedding. And then I was going to say it was a very clever writing method, and it reminded me, because me and Roz come from an improv background, and one of the games that we'd play is World's Worst, and it felt like that was actually a good like writing technique, because you're basically playing a game of World's Worst with the prompt being thing to do at a wedding. So that's also a fun thing that anybody can do if they have a premise that might fit onto World's Worst. But that's it from me. Giving it to Roz.
All right.
Thanks, Tom.
Yeah, I agree with the gig in the graveyard part. I thought the punchlines for that were really, really strong. It was just like bam, 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 bam. Like you kept hitting us with jokes and they were all equally funny, which I thought was great. One thing you seem to do really well is like these comparisons, like, and I noticed you did it a few times throughout your set. So like the one that stood out the most was like, instead of being a loser with a drug problem, you're now a rich asshole with the drug problem. And you did a couple other jokes that were kind of like that. And I thought that was something that you did a few times that kind of tied things together well, but also was kind of a strength. I also wrote down that your transitions are very smooth, which I think is a very difficult thing to do, or at least it's something I know I struggle with. And your jokes just seem to organically flow from topic to topic. So I thought that was really well done. The other thing I liked, I felt like you really fleshed out your concepts. Like you kind of you didn't abandon a premise until you got as much out of it as you could have. I think for everything you brought up, like you kind of explored every single thing you brought up in multiple ways that were all funny. Especially the wedding bit, I thought that was really good. And that was also really relatable because I think most people have been to a wedding where they just kind of sit there and think about like, I don't really want to be here. Like, can something interesting happen? You know, like I thought that was a very funny concept, and I think you really explored it well. Oh yeah, I would also say, unless unless you're gonna really like go into the France bit, I would kind of like avoid the France thing unless you want to start making fun of the French, which seems to be a universal pleasure that most nations
Yeah.
share for some
Well,
reason. I don't know.
I'm not married to the France thing. It could definitely go. It's not
Yeah.
necessary, really, is it?
Yeah. But you know, it also gives you some kind of room. So I thought that was good, and yeah, overall, I thought your delivery was very smooth. You know, you've got your pauses down for when you're doing punchlines. Like it was very easy to follow you, and I felt like the whole thing just had this really great organic flow that like it was easy to pay attention and follow you and you know not get distracted. So
I'm working on my timing thanks to Tom battering me every week. I've been trying to slow down.
I'm really
It's helpful,
savage
actually.
every
Yeah.
time
No,
you
it's,
talk.
you're right. You're right. I should have been slowing down for sure.
yeah, but so great job.
All right. Thanks a million, guys. Much appreciated.
Yeah.
Whoop, 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 whoop.
Yeah,
Give it
John.
up for John. Okay. And moving on to our final comic for the night. We're going to have the most energy, give him most of our attention, be the most engaged with him because he sat through the whole thing. Thank you so much already. Already brownie points. I feel like everyone who like has to open for this show and close for this show gets extra points. In a game where nothing is given prizes. Anyway, I'll just introduce him now. Kyle Kretzky. Woo, 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 woo.
All right, thank you so much. Wonderful to be here. All right, so yes, a little bit about myself. This year I'll be celebrating 17 years as a brain tumor survivor. Thank you very much.
Woo!
Thank you.
Woo.
Yeah, so when I got diagnosed, you know, my parents had to pick a brain surgeon. So we found two doctors that were able to help us out. Their names were Dr. Francis Stein and Dr. Michael Igor. This is who my parents choose to work on my brain. Frankenstein Igor. No wonder I had so much trouble in school. Igor couldn't find me a better brain. For some reason, I have a terrible fear of fire and pitchforks. Now, when I got diagnosed, the doctor told us that there's less than 1 in a million chance to get this kind of tumor. 1 in a million. Why couldn't I have just won the lotto? Most people think it's serious to be diagnosed with a brain tumor, but you know, there are some good things about it. I mean, for one thing, it's a great excuse for getting out of things you don't want to do in life. So you'll all be at home like, hey, Kyle, I'm on the lawn. I can't, I got a headache. All right, go lay down. I'll get Dad to do it for you. Can I get you some ice cream? Or when I was at school, I'd be like, oh, my head hurts. Can I go to the nurse? Yeah, sure, Kyle, go right away. We're perfect. I used to use all the time. Kept using it so much, my parents wanted to take me to the doctor. So we go to the doctor for an MRI and some tests. But I'm not worried. Nothing's wrong with me. And the doctor comes into us and he goes, okay, since this headaches have become more frequent, we're going to have to operate. I'm thinking, operate? There's nothing wrong with me. I can't have surgery. Wow. Gonna have to tell my parents the truth now. They'll be so upset with me. They'll probably ground me for life. So I had the surgery. All right, I'm curious. Anybody out there by chance fancy the Food Network?
Yeah.
Don't worry. I hate it too.
Ha!
I don't get it. My mom watches the Food Network nonstop. I don't understand why she's watching it. The only thing she has to make is reservations. My mom is like the worst cook of all. I mean, she's using the smoke alarm as a timer. She'll be in the kitchen cooking and she'll make something. She goes, "Go on, try it. It's not that bad." Not that bad? Who wants to eat something that's not that bad? That means it's not good at all. So, anybody sick of this whole COVID situation right now? I can't stand it.
Yes.
But I think I've narrowed it down, and I've come up with the top of 3 worst things we have to deal with during COVID. So, for one thing, everywhere we go, we have to wear our masks. But my mom is so overly concerned about me getting the virus. She's going out wearing a mask, scrubs, hat, boots, everything. She's got me going out looking like a dental school ninja. I mean, another thing is that all the restaurants are closed, so we have to make our own meals. Oh, sure. Nobody makes a hot dog and matzo ball fried rice like my dad. And finally, another thing is that online dating isn't doing very well right now. All the places are closed, so you can't really go anywhere. But I just heard this big increase in followers for Match.com. Yeah, and the demographic that led to that? Ugly people. I met this one girl online, and we went out to get a drink together. She took a mask off, but she had a huge mole on her face. That was the best feature. Yeah, she dumped me when she figured out I wasn't a dental school ninja. So I've been doing stand-up now for a couple of years. I've had some amazing opportunities. One of the biggest ones was I performed at a big convention out in LA with comedian and motivational speaker Kyle Cease. So we set up a video conference call so we can meet him and discuss the plans for me to perform. I want to make a good first impression. So I got all dressed up in a tie and jacket, just like my dad does for his online business meetings. Only I wore pants and underwear. So the call starts, and there's Kyle in a bathrobe, in his bed, eating a bacon and egg sandwich, and with a beautiful woman. Wow, now I'm convinced. I definitely want to be like this guy. Business meetings from bed, and best of all, with a beautiful bacon and egg sandwich. Thank you guys so much. I'm Kyle Kraske. Thank you.
Whoa, 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 whoa! Give it up for Kyle, everybody! And for our last round of advice for the evening, I'm going to give a big thank you and say goodbye to Timer. Goodbye, Timer!
Bye, Timer.
Bye, Timer. Such whimsy. I thought that was a really fun set. I think that you have a hook right at the top by telling people that you're a brain tumor survivor. I think that's like a good way to start a set is just like if you have a really unique, like interesting fact about yourself, go for that. I thought that the 1 in a million like chance of getting something and it was like something bad was a really fun way to frame that. And then the bit at the end, so I was conflicted with this joke a little bit because on the one hand, I thought that the whole lead up about like talking about your childhood and the way that you used it as a way to get out of stuff was really funny, although it had areas where I think it could have been tightened up. But then on the other hand, at the end of your joke, when you do that twist about, so I had the surgery, kind of benefits from having more space between when you first mentioned that idea and when you have it. So that might just be something to play with. Maybe like take an open mic and see how it does the other way as far as tightening it up. And maybe I'm worried about it being too close and too back to back for no reason. But it was definitely one of my favorite ones. Also, obviously, we got to give it up for Dental School Ninja. I like how you brought it back. It was a good callback. And I think leave that placement basically the same, but before you move on from Dental School Ninja is where you can kind of play with the other layers in that. Like I want to know, like dental school ninja, like what could be like a catchphrase for him. What does he have for weapons instead of like ninja throwing stars? Like if you can look up whatever the like specific vocabulary is for the tools that dentists use to work on teeth, that could be fun. And maybe just like exploring different things with Dental School Ninja before you move on from it, and then still call it back because that was the best. And then I think it's also worth commenting on in your whole experience with the comedian. Maybe like that's a very intimate scenario. So any way you can kind of like head nod to that, I think would be fun. And then I think the misdirect you have at the end is just like spot on with it being about the bacon egg sandwich, because I feel like most of us thought you were gonna say it was the beautiful woman. Also, who wears robes anymore was a question that I had just to explore on my own time. But overall, I thought it was really strong. So thank you for doing that. I'm going to give it to Roz.
Yeah, so I will echo Tom for sure. Misdirection is something that you do in your jokes really, really effectively. I also loved the punchline. Man, I figured out, my parents were going to crown me for life. So I went through with the brain surgery. It's like you literally picked brain surgery over having to deal with your parents being mad at you. I think you could definitely play that up. I thought that was hilarious. I also kind of at the end wanted you to be like, with a big, beautiful bacon sandwich. And I kind of wanted you to like change your like head posture for a second, be like, no, that's motivational. I don't know. That just occurred to me. I thought the way you brought back Dental School Ninja was really good too. I think it was effective the way you used it a second time. And it's definitely like one of your bigger jokes, which I really liked. For the part about your doctors being named Frankenstein and Igor, I think that's a really funny concept, but I feel like part of the situation that's so funny is I'm assuming, were you a kid when you had brain surgery?
I was 6.
Oh, you were 6. Okay. So I think that's a really cool detail that you could play up. Well, it's not cool that you had brain surgery when you were 6. No, just like the thought of like, okay, as an adult, having doctors named Frankenstein and Igor is like a little spooky and kind of funny. As a kid, that is terrifying, And I think that has a whole potential for you. You can set the scene a little bit, say my parents were driving me there, they were reassuring me, and I sit down in the exam room and they walk in and they shake my hands and they say, we're Dr. Frankenstein and Igor. And as a kid, like, you can play with that concept a little bit. I think there's a lot of potential there for you to kind of play around with and expand on. The other thing is, I thought the whole concept of using the brain tumor, I thought you used that in a very cool way because it's something interesting and kind of unique about you that will make people pay attention, but you also made it relatable by talking about using it as an excuse to get out of. Like, we've all been like, oh, I can't do PE today, my ankle, like that kind of thing. So I thought that was a really funny kind of detail. I kind of wanted you to get a little bit more specific about stuff you used it to get out of. So instead of just like, it was PE class, you could be like, it was, sex ed day in PE and I didn't want to be there. So I pretended that my head hurt so badly I couldn't understand, what they were talking about, or something like that. Just like make the things that you got out of, like expand on those and make them a little bit more specific. And what was the other? Oh yeah, the other joke you had about your mom saying, try it, it's not that bad. You could like, play around with that concept a little bit more too. Like, Mom, I had brain surgery. It wasn't that bad, but I don't want to do it again. Like, you can kind of call back to your original jokes or just like talk about like, yeah, I got into a car accident, but don't worry, it wasn't that bad. I'm still alive. Like, like kind of play with that concept a little bit. And then the one thing I noticed, like the one premise that I feel like you should either kind of like abandon or expand on is the Food Network thing. Because it kind of didn't really go anywhere. I felt like I wanted you to talk more specifically about Food Network, or if you just want to make fun of the fact that your mom's a terrible cook, like that's cool too. I just feel like when you bring something that specific up, people are kind of expecting you to riff on it a little bit more specifically. And like there's a lot of shit on there that you can make fun of because yeah. Not gonna say in my later years I've watched it a lot, but I have. But overall I thought I thought it was really like an interesting take on things, and I really love your ability to kind of use misdirection. So I think if you just like expand a few things, it's going to be really strong. So yeah, great job.
Cool. Awesome. Give it up for Kyle, everybody, and give it up for Ross. Thank you for being able to step in for Lisa this evening. I'm going to pin myself real quick so I can take us out of here. But yeah, also thank you to the comedians for being so open to feedback. And of course, you guys are awesome audience. Again, if you want to support the stream, you can do so at district-comedy.live or hit that share, like, or subscribe button. That also helps. So this is my idea for a fun game. If you got it to the end of the episode, write in the comments of the post, poop, if you didn't hear my keyboard this time, since that's been a thing. And then we'll have all the poop comments. And if you want to be on the show, you can sign up using the link in the episode description. But that's it for us tonight. Have a